Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of CEO and Market Expert Interviews. I'm your host Lucian, some of you know me as Triangle Investor from social medias. Today we are covering Monumental Energy, an energy company focused on exploration lithium brine salars in Chile and investing in near-term gas production assets in New Zealand. The company is trading on TSX.V under the symbol MNRG and in the United States under the symbol on OTCQB, under the symbol MNMRF. Did I say it right?
Yes, you
Max?
did.
Okay, I'm joined by their VP of Corporate Development and Director, Mr. Maximilian Sali. Once again, Max, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. I know we had a chat recently just before we did this to kind of get you to understand the story better. And, thanks to Jesse for the introduction. And I'm glad to be speaking with you today. You have a very good reputation. And so happy to speak to you.
Thank you very much, and thanks, Jesse, for the recommendation of your company. I looked through your corporate presentation and website, and it really looks impressive with the assets compared with the market cap you actually have right now. But we will get to that. When we cover companies, we usually cover the macro view of the commodities related to the company's projects, and we will do that today as well. But first, I want to hear a word or two about you and your background, please.
I started investing in companies in 2009 when I was doing other jobs for a living. Did quite well in a few stocks that happened to be in New Zealand called Tag Oil. Went from 10 cents to 11.11, and New Zealand Energy went from a quarter to $4. So those were the two big kind of starting stocks when the gold market was ripping, except those were oil and gas. And over the last decade plus, there's been kind of a different sentiment in New Zealand. That sentiment has now changed, and the oil price is still quite high. The gas price is significantly higher than it was then. You're getting about $25 New Zealand, which is about 21 Canadian, 17 US per MCF, where in Canada, you're getting $2.50, $3. So it's a good opportunity for us. That's how that started. And I started building shells and sold a couple of companies in lithium, moved a gold company, and now we have Monumental Energy. And so when I saw the opportunity to get back into New Zealand, having the extra cash that we did with the delay in our lithium salars and the price of lithium, it seemed like a good investment, and here we are today having a chat about that and then our new acquisition.
Yeah, definitely. I want to hear your helicopter view first on the oil and gas today, and how do you see it for the future of oil and gas going forward?
Depending on the market, I think it's obviously never going away. Gas makes up about 42% of all energy in the United States. It's very abundant. That's why the price isn't so high. So a specific market like New Zealand, where they need that kind of energy. You can't just have hydro dams and solar panels power the whole country. And so the delay in investment in oil and gas in New Zealand has led to where the price is now, and led to us investing in a gas well that is currently being drilled and hopefully comes into production in a couple weeks with gas already pre-sold, which us being a large owner of the company would benefit from a dividend if they have successful cash flow in 2025. And on top of that, being able to work with them on a few oil workover wells, past producers, almost 1 million barrels a day of oil, which is not a ton on a big scale, but for a country like New Zealand, when you're getting near Brent crude pricing, it's a ton of revenue for a junior like myself, especially with our market cap. And so, I think it's always been a good place to be. There's been different cycles. I've done very well in lithium and gold. Those have come off. Gold's ripped. And then now with the election, it's come off. Oil's been kind of flat. Lithium prices need to come back. They haven't. But the nice thing about our asset in Chile is it's a salar. It's brine. And brine's always the most economical form of lithium. So as the Chilean government starts allowing more companies to exploit, and they'll grant permits, that increases the value of a salar. And so in the meantime, while we're waiting for that to happen, and I actually met with the investment minister of Chile yesterday in Vancouver just to discuss things on that salar. So hopefully within the next 60 days, we can get a better answer out of the progress on that. But I think, what's really exciting now is the oil transaction we just did with our partner in New Zealand, and then them drilling this gas well. So I think, those two catalysts, along with lithium in the future, will really benefit Monumental for the coming year.
Yeah, I would like to cover in more specifics your projects, and we will do that by starting with your natural gas production in New Zealand. Actually, what is the stage of this project, and what are you currently doing over there right now?
So the natural gas is an investment. We had excess cash and lithium was delayed. Our project was delayed. So we did a lot of due diligence. We were able to get a waiver from the TSX to invest into a company called New Zealand Energy Corp. As a tier two company, you cannot technically invest into another public company. The exchange approved it. So we were able to take about, at the start, over 10%. Now they've done some capital raises. We're about 7%. We own 1.3 million shares at a cost base of 46 cents. They're trading higher than that. And what we're looking for out of them is a successful gas well, which will, after production, become a gas storage facility. And how we benefit from that is obviously in the stock price increase, because we have those free trading shares. But then we have the dividend. And so they have announced a dividend strategy back in May that they'll pay up to 50% of their cash flow back to shareholders. So along with the stock and the dividend, that is non-dilutive cash to Monumental to keep our structure tight. Moving forward, the next transaction with them was oil, was mainly oil. It's about 95% oil. You get a bit of gas. And that transaction looks like we'll spend about 675 Canadian or 800 grand New Zealand. We will put 2 wells back into production. That'll produce flush production anywhere from 250 to 300 a day come off. We'll get 75% of our payback first, and then we'll go into a 25% royalty, which is a fantastic thing because the royalty for us is like a streaming deal. There is no liability for us after that going forward. The only liability is the risk of when we do put up the capital to drill that something, or not drill, but recomplete these wells, that fails. But they're very low risk. They're very de-risked. They've produced a lot of oil, and so it's a matter of updating some equipment and getting those back into production, which go right to New Zealand Energy Corp's production facility. 3 kilometers away, it's trucked, and it's all sold to market. Everything is sold to market, the gas, the oil. And so that's a fantastic thing for us. We'll be able to generate a decent amount of revenue, which junior companies usually do not, and then hopefully use that revenue and additional opportunities to work with them to fund our lithium salar down the line.
Yeah, how high are those royalties, and do you have some projections of the earnings from them?
You know what? We will have a flow model that should go out. It's really hard to say now exactly once we are producing. But the nice thing is about, when you get flush production, and I do have the numbers on a chart, if they have about 300 barrels flush production and we get 75% of our payback, it takes about 30 days to get our 75% back, and then the rest recovered in a royalty, another about 30 days. So it's quite quick to get your money back out of that. So then now you're even on your capital investment, and then everything forward is just additional income, which covers, our costs, other fees, and then hopefully some of that can go into then investing in a brand new well, and we're talking to them on those now. So we will when we announce the deal, we'll have a cash flow model. We will put it out to the market of our assumption.
Understood. Can you tell me more about this project, about the infrastructure over there?
Infrastructure is fantastic. So we had to do a site visit. Myself and our 2 lawyers went down about a month ago, 6 weeks ago. The TSX requires a site visit, and so we did that. We took photos, looked at the infrastructure with New Zealand Energy, on-site infrastructure for the Copper Moki wells, which is in great condition, and then all that gets trucked for the oil to their bigger production facility about 3 kilometers away. That's on our website. You can see the photos. It's in good condition. The gas will flare a bit, and if there's excess gas, will go to their facility and then sold to market. So infrastructure is in great. These are conventional wells. The difference between conventional and unconventional is if you're in the middle of Africa and you find a massive discovery, that's great. The stock goes for a rip, and then now you have to, build the infrastructure, which takes years and permitting. The infrastructure that New Zealand Energy has, if you wanted to replace that today, would be about $100 million Canadian. It's expensive. They got miles and miles of pipelines that go all over that area of New Zealand. And so it's a fantastic thing that they have that. They purchased that back in 2012, just before oil came off. They still own it. They maintain it. and hopefully we'll be using that facility shortly.
Okay, the Chilean part of the story, it's comprised of lithium projects and cesium project, if I remember correctly. The lithium part, the company has an option to purchase 51% in the Laguna Blanca salar covering some 15,000 hectares. Tell me more about it, please. Tell me what is the current stage and what are some, let's say, next steps for that.
So our option is with Lithium Chile. The COO of Lithium Chile is our CEO, Michelle DeCecco, so a very good relationship with them. We acquired this salar back in 2022. It's an option to earn up to 75%. We increased the hectares to, I think it's about 12,450.
Yeah, my apologies. I said
Yeah,
51%.
and we did some sampling. We did some auger holes up to about 2 meters. We've been dealing with the community for 2 years. That's been a delay. Then you've been dealing with the Chilean government. That's been a delay. 2025 is going to be a year, and I mentioned this at the start of this interview. I sat down with the investment minister for Chile yesterday. We had a coffee. They really want to grant more companies this permit called the CEOL, which means you can exploit lithium. Obviously, having community helps, but if you get that license, they will get the community on side. So they need the investment. They're so far behind Argentina that they need this investment. So they did their first round of granting salt flats about 6 weeks ago. They're going to do their second round of granting smaller salt flats like ourselves. What I've heard is before the end of the year. So it's not far. You know, we're well in our way into November now, and then just December. So hopefully next month we'll get more clarification on that. But meeting him, he was very excited. He's here to meet companies to try and generate investment in Chile. So the government, and we met. I was with the Minister of Mines in Chile in August. They're a very young group of individuals, I would say, like ourselves. So it's a kind of a new thinking. They want to move things forward, and they're finally really going as quick as they can. The real backup is this delay of staff. They want to move quicker, but you only have so many people in the sector to move forward. And so they want to work with private companies to develop these salars, and they want to do a lot of that in 2025. So, we have the Laguna Blanca salar. It's a cesium sediment lithium brine, so the cesium's in the sediment. Cesium is a very important mineral. It's only produced by one mine in Manitoba called the Tanko.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you if you can expand. Actually, I know very little about cesium. What is the usage and some basic stuff?
So it's actually used for oil and gas drilling as a lubricant. And it's so expensive that companies rent it, recover it, and send it back. Very expensive because it's so limited. So you can't go on Kitco or any other website and find a spot price for it, but it's a very valuable mineral. And so we do have a lot of it on the property, but again, we need community on side, and then we can go and do more testing on that. And so that's an important element along with the lithium brine. We have a second salar, but it's just a royalty. We sold a salar to Summit Nanotech back in May and kept the 2% NSR on that for when that moves forward. So we have two royalties, one in Chile, now our one in New Zealand, and then we have our option on Laguna Blanca. And the spend isn't expensive. We've pushed all of those spends out a full year so we can focus on this oil project for a bit. And then when lithium prices rebound, we can then focus on the solar.
Yeah. Another question about cesium. How is it mined? Similar like lithium or different techniques?
It's in the sediment, so it's a hard rock. So it's going to be like pegmatites.
Like pegmatites. Okay, yeah. Okay. What is the end game for these Chilean projects, for your projects? Will you bring this at one point to our next level to develop more or even produce it maybe, or maybe to sell it, spin it to another company? What's the plan?
Yeah, I think for any junior, the whole idea is to sell it. What would happen is we would be granted this license to exploit. We would then do a drill program. We'd have our resource. We'd then do a PEA and a PFS. At that stage, we would obviously partner with the DLE company because they would have to test their technology to see if it works. And we could potentially put it in production, but most likely what you'll see is someone or a big company, a major that needs the lithium, partner with us, take it over, and the DLE company would then run the technology.
Okay, fair enough. Max, I would like to cover some company metrics, and I mean by that share structure, skin in the game, and those kind of metrics. How is your share structure looking today? How many shares do you have outstanding, option warrants, and especially skin in the game? That's the part that I like to hear.
So we have just under 58 million shares out. We have currently no debt. We have cash in the bank. We have with which we have enough cash to pay for the upcoming oil workovers. That was a requirement of the TSX, so we're not going to the market to raise for that. We have our shares in New Zealand, which are free trading marketable securities. I am the largest shareholder. Day one, when this stock comes back trading, you'll see me in the market buying. My family's invested in this, my friends, my associates. So we're buried in it. You know, the stock price hasn't performed like most stocks, but having skin in the game, I work hard to try and get this done. And I think these assets will perform in 2025. All the options, all the warrants are quite out of the money, so those won't be a problem for now, unless we get the stock up, and that's the whole game plan. Have I been happy with the performance? No. When I look at my portfolio, was it down significantly this year? Yes. But I think there'll be a lot of nice things or nice catalysts to fix it. You know, there's a lot of companies right now in many sectors, mining, that are completely broke, have a ton of debt on the books. And, you know, when you see these small capital raises, it's just pretty much going to pay off bills. It's not going into the ground to improve the asset. So it's very difficult to raise money. You know, you've seen a number of mid-sized companies raise a ton of money, and depending on the certain company, raise money, but 90% of them are in trouble.
Yeah, I agree.
In that situation.
Totally agree on raising money for juniors. It is very, very hard, and I know a lot of juniors that have trouble raising money or had private placements and they raised a portion of it. And yeah, it's a tough world out there. I agree on that. Tell me, please, who are the people behind the company? You said about yourself. Who are the other people that are on your management side and, of course, on your technical and advisory side?
So on the board specifically, it's myself, Michelle DeCecco, our PGO, Frank Jacobs, who's the chairman of New Zealand Energy Corp, and a gentleman out of London called Wazim Raymond. He's been a big supporter, big shareholder as well. We met him through a firm called Ocean Wall, which is an advisory firm that we use out of London. So it's a very good board who own a lot of stock in their own companies, in our company, Monumental. And it's a good technical team. Obviously now with Chile on kind of hold, we've lowered that. But our technical team for New Zealand is New Zealand Energy. They are the operator. They're managing it. They're all in-house. They're all in New Zealand. And so we're not sending people lower, spending money, sending someone back and forth. They're handling all of that in-country, on-site, which is, you know, a cost saver for us, and which is obviously huge right now.
Okay, Max, how do you approach marketing? How do you believe that you can tell the story better? Okay, I get that part. Doing interviews like me, Jesse, that is a great way to find new investors. Agreed. But is there something else that you currently doing?
You know, at this moment, we're trying not to spend a ton of money on marketing dollars. You know, we'll do a small program to get the story out. You know, a lot of companies go in, though, when they do their financing, spend a big portion of that doing a check swap or putting people into the stock, and the stocks go up and down. You know, we need good news. There's no point spending marketing dollars when you're not having news flow, right? You're just creating liquidity for someone that was going to sell lower. And I'm not in the business of selling. None of my board is. None of my friends are. And so I think the catalysts into 2025 will generate more eyes on the story. We have I just did an interview last week with the firm out of New York, and that added about 300 names to my email list. And so I think when the time is right and we can show success from our New Zealand investment and from our oil investment specifically, we'll do a road show and a tour. I think that's the best way to do it. And then we'll do a reasonable marketing budget. But spending money on marketing has always been a tough one for big shareholders because they want to see it going into the ground. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, good answer. Max, looking ahead, how do you see the company, let's say, 2 years from now?
I mean, I would like to see us, if I look at all the catalysts and they all come to fruition, I could see Monumental at anywhere from 25 to 50 cents. Our last financing was 17.5 cents, our last two. You know, I think we've been beaten up over the summer like everyone, lack of news. people are allowed to sell for whatever reason. It's in a market like this, you sell whatever you can to do whatever you need to do with that capital, and it's been a tough market for liquidity. And so I think at this point, my goal would be obviously to see a return for shareholders to get us back above our last financing price and move back to where we were 2 years ago, which was 25 to 40 cents. And that would be my goal.
Fair enough. Final question, news flow from the company, what to expect and when to expect?
We're going to have an announcement out of our partner, New Zealand Energy Corp, on their gas well within a few weeks on the success or not success. We're hoping for success. That's out of my control. Going into, and again, we're very close into December. Early January, we'll have an update on getting our facility for the Copper Moki back in shape, then begin drilling that. That should only take about 2 to 3 weeks. So that's very, very quick. Then the news flow you'll see is production rates from that. And then we're also hoping around the same time to get one of these permits out of Chile, which would be massive. The increase of the value of our salar having that permit would be tremendous.
Yeah. Max, I want to thank you for coming to my show. It was a great chat, and I hope we will update your shareholders and the new ones, especially potential new ones, in our next interview as well. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks for your time. And if anyone ever wants to reach out and give me a call, I'm always happy to talk to shareholders or potential investors anytime.
Yeah, actually, that's my last questions. My apologies. How can investors reach out to you? Tell me, what is your website? How can they reach out specifically to you?
So if you go to the contact page on our presentation, or max@monumental.energy is the easiest one. Send me an email, put your number on there, and I'll give you a call.
Are you active on socials?
You know what? We have our social media guy that kind of updates on the company, but I personally don't have any social media. I have a LinkedIn, but I'm not a big fan of the other ones. But we do have social media for Monumental.
Even better for you. Thank you very much, Max.
Thank you for your time. Have a good day.